Good morning, class. My name is Maximiliano Cota. I am 22 years old and I live in Douglas, Arizona. This is my final on communications, my final speech. The topic I chose was video games, more specifically, the impact video games have had on society throughout the years. There is three main points I want to talk about: mental health, violence correlation with video games, and the job opportunities that's offered to people throughout the years. Personally, I think the most important thing to talk about when it comes to video games is mental health, the impact it's had on mental health. I think it's had both positive and negative effects on young people's mental health. I want to start by talking about the positives. I made some, actually, not negatives, the positives. There we go. Point number one, it helps people connect. What do I mean by that? When you play video games, especially online, you get to talk to other people from different countries, different states. I play with a friend that lives in Idaho, and he just tells me like how it is to live up there. Over there they get a lot of snow, and it's just something I can't imagine here in Arizona. We don't get much snow. I also play with family and friends from Mexico. I have some friends in Texas, stuff from you get to connect with other people, interact, learn about them, their lives, their routines. It also helps younger people when it comes to mental health disorders such as ADHD, thinking problems, like thinking skill problems, when they can't learn stuff. Video games can serve as a training to them. It's more accessible to them, more than going to special classes or stuff like that. However, it also has negative effects on people. One of the most notably, obviously, being vision. When you play a lot of video games, it becomes an addiction, and it doesn't allow you to do more physical stuff. So obesity could be a problem too. Just sitting in your couch or in your room playing all day can cause problems like that, health problems like that. Let's see. Just real quick. There we go. Negative effects. Gamer slump. What is gamer slump? It might sound silly, but playing video games, having your hands move repeatedly in the same manner can help or can mess up your hands, giving you like sore thumbs or even maybe causing serious injuries or stuff like that. So it's called gamer slump. That's basically what it is. We also have, as I mentioned, obesity. Staying in your room or just not doing a lot of physical activities can cause obesity, especially when you play games, you eat a lot, you're just sitting there, and taking calories, and you just don't really burn those calories, so they just get stored in your body. There's also, well, I said addiction, but it has a more specific name. Addiction it can be called IGD, or internet gaming disorder. That's what, let's see, I did my research on Harvard. Harvard does this research, so that's where I got most of my information from. They call it IGD, or internet gaming disorder. It's just basically addiction. It becomes something you do every day. You start playing more often for more time. It doesn't allow you to do other stuff. So that's the impact it's had on mental health. Point two, I want to start by saying I don't think video games they don't have that big of an impact on violence. I think violence is just a completely separate, it's completely separate from that. People started seeing, or they started making the correlation between video games and violence long ago, more specifically in 1999 when there was an incident. There was a shooting, and unfortunately, and the shooter, he was when they searched his room, they found a lot of video games, so they started making a connection between both. I don't think there's a solid connection between video game violence or video games and violence. This belief is usually higher among older people because, like I said, this happened in 1999. It's called the 1999 Columbine High School Massacre. When people heard about this, they immediately made the connection. But but yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys, especially like I said, if you play video games, I'm sure your parents they probably told you a few times that, playing video games can, they're not good for you. They make you violent, this, that. It's just, it is what it is. Personally, I don't think there's a connection, at least not, linear. I think violence comes from mental disorders that are already in the person. Video games might serve as a catalyst, but they're not necessarily the main cause of it. And I want to talk about the last point being job opportunities. We've had video games for over 100 years now. Obviously, game development became a job. And nowadays, more and more video games are being produced. So there is a need of video game developers and stuff like that. So it's open windows for people. It's another opportunity they have to study, to go to school for. There's also if you spend a lot of time online and on YouTube or stuff like Twitch or stuff like that, there's a lot of streamers that play video games. That is another opportunity to make money. It actually, I don't have specific numbers for this, but I know streamers can make up to anywhere between 5 to 15K a month. So it's a very good job. It offers a really good income for people. Yeah, there's another thing called esports. I'm sure if you like video games, you know what that is. People basically, they become athletes per se. And they play a lot of video games. They go to tournaments, stuff like that, and they just basically treat it as a sport. Hence the name esports. Personally, to conclude this video, I think video games definitely have had different impacts on society. But I think it's worth noting more about the positives. It's more the positive outbalance the negatives for sure. They've definitely not been on positive impacts, but there's definitely more positive things coming out from video games than negative. Thank you.